Hi, welcome back to the Salary Step Up series. This is step 6 in the series, and in this step we're going to be addressing planning. And what we want to do is create a very systematic plan to get you from where you are now to the goal of attaining your salary increase. So, how are we going to do that? Well, I want you to think of it this way. We have to first define our goals. And the goal is just the destination. So think of it like you get into your car, you're going somewhere, the destination's the goal. How you get to that location, whether you take two rights and a left or whatever, that's the process. And that systematic process, if you deviate anywhere along the way, you might still get there, but it may not be the most efficient way. So we're also looking for efficiency. So with that in mind, let me lay out how we're going to do that. We're going to go through a series of aspects of defining what the goal is and how to get it. All right, first we want to be specific. So we want to write down exactly what we want to have obtained in our goal. Then we're going to define that. In defining it, you want to be able to outline exactly what it is. So they're kind of two go together. Being specific and defining it. Limiting it, so like if it's a pay increase, if it's $10 more an hour or $10,000 more a year, whatever that is, you want to be able to clearly define what that is. Also, the minimum that you would want. So that way, as we go later into the process, we're going to know where we have our lines drawn. This is what we're asking for, and this is the least we'll accept. So that's our identifying the goal and defining what it is. All right, now the next step is why you want it and how you're going to get it. So the why you want it, this is the motivation for your request. This is where you're going to draw from it. If you are asking for a certain dollar amount increase, the reason why might have multiple reasons. First of all, you deserve it. It's reasonable. It's what you would make at another company, those types of things, but also that it allows you to provide for your family or to give to your favorite charity or to fund your retirement. Whatever those reasons are, those are your motivations. The other aspect of this is how you're going to get it, and how you're going to get it is answered in this series. So how you're going about doing this series and making this fit for your specific reason, those are the steps, but we're walking you through that. Okay, so to create our plan, we want to have two papers that we're going to put in front of us. And I want you to grab two blank sheets of paper, and on one it's going to say your goals, and the other one is going to be the elements and objectives. Both of these are the elements of the plan that are at their core. The core being why you want it, the goals, what you want, and then the elements and objectives. That's where you're going to define what those pieces are. So let me use it as an example. The goals page is something that's very personal to you. It's where you're going to write down why you want it, and that might be because you want to retire early, or you want to fund your retirement, or you want to make sure you have enough money to put your kids through college, or whatever those reasons are. Those are personal. Now the elements and objectives are you're going to identify that goal as your objective, but then the elements that tie into that, that's going to be things like putting the successes that you've had in your job so far, where you have reached your production goals, where you have implemented policies that have made the company money or saved money or anything like that. Those elements. Now those elements later we're also going to use in negotiation as leverage. So you're going to hear me you're going to hear me refer to these from time to time in a little bit different context. And when I do that, it's to get you to shift your thinking. So for now, I want you to first start on your goals page. And so let me get into that. Okay, so I want you to think about your goals, and we're going to be very systematic about that. So I want you to have a good understanding of what we're doing before you actually start writing any goals down. Your goals need to be something that are personal to you. There has to be a reason, and it has to mean something to you. So as we're looking at this goals page, we're going to put in the elements that you want, the items that you want, and then we're going to be very specific. We're going to put as much detail down about each goal as we can, all the reasons for it. If it's a pay increase, all those things I've mentioned before, the charity giving, the retirement, the paying for your kids' education, whatever it happens to be, all of those reasons, because each one of those is going to create motivation and it's going to give you momentum as you move through this. If you ever start to feel uncomfortable or that you think that, I just don't feel like going through all of this process, you're going to look at that goals page and it's going to spur you on to continue taking action. The next aspect is that I want you to have your goals be both professional and personal. Now again, on your goals page, this is something that's personal, so you're never going to share this with anybody. And I want you to have your reasons in there. So maybe it's that you also want to progress your career and you want to achieve certain things in your career, but it also has reasons in your personal life. There's no way to really separate those completely, so I want you to have them there, and I want you to understand that it's totally okay, and I encourage you to have them there. So how do we start with this? I want you to have the big picture, having all of this. Look at it from multiple perspectives, of your own perspectives to begin with, of what this means to you and what it'll mean in your relationships and the sense of accomplishment and all those types of things. And I want you to, after you've written those down, I want you to come back to them later and review them. Give it a day, sleep on it, come back to them and then review it. And as you're moving through this process, I want you to review it also. And as you're reviewing it, I want you to look at them and say, did my feelings change on this? Did my opinion change on this? What you'll find in going through this process is that it's either going to strengthen or weaken your desires on each of those goals. And as you're doing that, it's teaching you something about yourself and what motivates you. So as we're going through this, I want you to continue to examine how you're viewing these goals, and that's going to be done by periodically looking at your goals list and evaluating those. All right, so now I want to give you a few questions to ask yourself that'll help you get going in your goals list. The first one is, what does money mean to you? Now, this is a little bit philosophical, but the question is, what does money mean to you in the sense of what do you use it for? Is it somewhat a status symbol maybe? Is it purely just so that you can buy groceries and keep a roof over your head? Is it something that you use to measure yourself as far as success? And be honest with yourself. Again, you're not sharing this with other people, so I want you to have that real deep honesty, because that again is going to go to the core of why you want this. Another one is, can you get what you need without just the cold hard cash? Can you achieve your goals with other tools, with other aspects being changed? If the reason you want more money is so that you can have time off at some point, or that you can, maybe you're going to shift careers, you're going to go back to school, there's something like that in the future. So is there another way of obtaining those things without cash? If you're, as an example, if you're planning on going back to school, are there some scholarships? Is there any kind of student loans or anything that might be out there for you? Anything that might be able to accomplish the same goal but without just cash? What would you do to make yourself happier at work? What could change? What would be different about changing your work environment, that kind of thing? What would make you more productive at work? Give some thought to what you do. Is there any aspects of it that you could maybe get some assistance or some other tools and services and things like that that are going to help you to become more productive? We'll get more into that, but I want you to think about how you can use this same process to prepare for another pay increase in the future or promotions in the future. And as you're using this presentation that you're preparing for, you are laying the groundwork for that. So give some thought to what could you do to increase your production at work, and what would be some outside forces that you could ask for that would go into your preparation for this, that you would want to incorporate into your goals. So you look at your goals and what those preparations would be. Okay, what are your long-term goals? How do your long-term goals fit in with your short-term goals? And when I look at these, I don't necessarily look, I'm not talking about your goals for the next 3 months kind of thing, production goals, things like that. I'm talking about long-term career goals. So in looking at your long-term career goals, you might have a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan. There might also be in there the 1, 2, and 3-year aspects of accomplishing the ultimate goal over 20 years. So write those down and start to figure out how you see that happening in a domino effect, so that in 1 year, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that you get to where you want to be. Okay, now what can your current position do that will help you to achieve lifestyle goals? Look at your current position and see what it offers to you and what you can ask for that will help improve that. The second part of that would be, what limitations are there with your company, with your boss, in your industry? If you're doing something that you need to do now, but it's laying groundwork for a future career shift, how are you preparing to make that shift? And how do your current goals, and then this presentation specifically, how are they going to fit together to get you to where you want to be in the long run? Because if there's limitations currently, at some point there has to be a shift, there has to be a change. So ask yourself, what limits are there placed on you where you currently are that you would like to remove? Can they be removed where you currently are? And would some shift in the future, some change to another company or a promotion be necessary in order to accomplish those? Now, what is it that truly makes the biggest difference in your quality of life, in the lifestyle that you've chosen for yourself? If you haven't thought about this before, you need to give this some thought, because this will tie into everything in your life. But think about what is most important to you, your lifestyle, how you live, where you live, what you do, and then start to evaluate these goals in that light. When I say evaluate it, I'm not saying that you are going to completely remove one of these goals, although that could happen, but more of how you're going to modify it, again, to give it that definition, to give it the specifics that you want. The more specific you make your goals, the clearer it is in your mind, the less we're talking about having a goals list and going back and reading it every day and all that. The more you make your list originally, and the more you define it, and the more you understand why those goals are important to you, and then you have a plan to achieve those goals, the less you have to give it thought on a daily basis, these daily reminders. And I'm not saying those are bad, I'm just saying that you don't have to have a regiment in your life that is so specific that every morning you have to get up and read your goals list and see how you're going to achieve your career goals every day. If you're really, really clear, they're well defined, and you have a plan, you revisit it from time to time to refresh yourself, to give it some review time. But that's why we're going to spend some time right now to be very specific in your goals. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the elements and objectives page. The elements and objectives page is where you're going to put the data, the supporting information for what your request is. So think of it this way. You have your goals page, and it has personal reasons why you want this. Reasons that have nothing to do with your job. Reasons that have everything to do with what you feel personally, what gives you that sense of accomplishment. What I want you to have in this one is the elements and objectives will have the supporting data, the reasons why you deserve it, the evidence that you've gathered. So what I want you to do is, in thinking about this, let me give you a couple of examples here. Your list of objectives could include things like your salary, your bonus structure, any achievements you've had, the work environment that you're working in, the support and resources that you want to have or want to have increased. So as you're looking at those elements, how are you going to create the objectives for those elements? So if you want to improve your salary, you have salary as an element, and then the objective of increasing that salary. Why you deserve that increase is on your elements and objectives page. This page is kind of a living document through this process. So you're not going to finish it in this step. You're going to write down as much as you can, and as you move through this process, you're going to define it and refine it. So you've already been evaluating and gathering information and those types of things, and we're into this planning process. So you're going to have a good start to it, but as you move farther into it and a couple more days goes by as you're preparing and doing those things, you're going to be looking back at this, and this is the overall game plan to your overall objective. The goals translate to the elements and objectives page to give you the what you want, and the why is back on the goals. How and the supporting reasons of why you deserve it are on the elements and objectives page. So it's much more clinical on the elements and objectives. The goals are your personal reasons. They're more feelings based. Okay, so the next part of the elements and objectives page is that to understand that this is where the key points that are important to your plan are placed, and then that you demonstrate why you deserve those elements, and then this is where you separate the logic in it, and you define these logical reasons, and those become leverage points later on in the process. But you're going to have them in this because this is where you're going to refer back, and this is the cornerstone to building your presentation. Okay, so the other element of the planning process is the timing, and the timing is critical in your planning process. The reasons being that we're going to be looking at if you're going to ask for your pay raise during your annual review, and if that annual review is going to happen on a specific day and you know what that day is and you can plan for that, this whole plan is going to have that as a target date. If you don't have a specific target date set now, you need to pick a target date, and that might be able to be moved around a little bit later on. It might be that you know you want to tie it into the end of finishing a acquisition or landing a big account or something like that, and you don't have that exact date, but you have an anticipated date that you're going to work with. So planning that out, and if you don't have any of those things, then you just pick a day. You pick a date out in the future that allows you to prepare and have all of your stuff done. Not so far out that you get complacent with your planning. You want to keep it tight so that you have this motivation. You keep that momentum. Hopefully you get a little bit jazzed up if you're watching the videos or you're reading the newsletters, and it's giving you the fuel you need to keep excited about the process, and that you want to have this completion date so that it's the anticipation and the preparations have a very logical progression. All right, so timing's critical, and identifying what elements of the future between now and that time have to fit into this plan. As you're doing this, you're putting them onto your elements and objectives page, because the timing has in it the objective of being done by this date. And the elements might also include having other events that you are working on. So you might have other goals that when they're completed, landing a big account, something like that, that it ties into this. So you're going to be tracking these other items in order to achieve this goal of being prepared by a certain date. Okay, so when you're planning, you also need to be planning for any bumps. Now, the bumps that we're looking at is the objections your boss is going to raise to giving you a pay increase or any of the items that you might request. As you're doing your preparation, you want to be setting aside a time that you look at how I want to accomplish what I want, what do I want in that, and then what would the objections be? So you want to have a separate time is what I'm saying. You don't want to be blending the two times. But when you're done with getting your goals clear, you're developing your elements and objectives page, and then you're going to set aside some time and just sit back and look at it and say, why would my boss have an objection to this? What is there in the company that says that they're not going to be able to do this? Maybe you do a job that is also done by other people, and their objection is going to be, well, if we give you a pay raise, we have to give everybody a pay raise. So if that's the objection, write it down. We'll go through this, and we're going to look at the evidence and determine why those objections are not valid and what information you have that you can use to refute that objection. But for now, we're just going to make a list of what those objections might be, and we're going to be very clear that we know that there are going to be some bumps in the road, and we need to be prepared to adjust as we see those and be prepared to deal with them when they happen. Okay, so that's the general overview of planning. Now, I've prepared a page to help you with this, and it's pretty basic, but it'll get you thinking about it. It'll keep some of the elements very fresh in your thinking while you're working on these. So just look at that and see if it's something that works for you. You can do this with a blank sheet of paper, just with the information I've given you. The next steps are going to progress this planning process and taking you to the actual presentation. What I want you to do at this point, this is one of those steps where you need to take a pause and don't rush to the next aspect until you finish this planning process. Really think about your goals and then structure it in such a way that you have your elements and objectives page, that you have a clear understanding of where you're moving towards, what that goal is, and how you would define it successfully, the success in obtaining it. If you're vague, you're going to get vague results. If you are specific and well-defined, you're going to get those. And the more you do these things and do them thoroughly, the more comfort you're going to develop in the process, the more resilience you're going to have in the negotiation. You're going to have a good understanding of why these things are important to you. That's going to motivate you, and the elements and objectives page is going to give you the data, the facts that you need in order to refute any objections that your boss is going to have. So spend some good solid time on this part. Especially with the goals part of this process, I want you to get comfortable. Go get yourself your favorite beverage, get yourself comfortable on the couch in your favorite chair, whatever it is. It's not something I want you to do in a hurried environment, and it is something that I want you to be very thoughtful about and do a little soul searching kind of thing. Now, I'm not getting all touchy-feely with this, but it is the most emotional part that we're going to go through with this for you, in that you're going to think about what your goals are and why you want them and why they're personal. Then we go back to the clinical aspects of it. All right, so that's step 6. We're going to move on now to step 7, when you're ready. And when you're ready, I'll see you on that step. I'm Rick Richardson. This is the Salary Step Up series. Thanks for watching.